What's up, everybody? Welcome to the very first episode of the Tie My Skates podcast. I am your host, Drunk Gritty, and I'm alongside my co-host, Z. How you doing today, Z?
I'm doing well, DG. How about you?
I'm doing pretty well. So today, for the very first episode, we are going to start with the season recap, what went wrong during the season. And then we're going to move to top 3 moments of the season, news around the league, talk about the Stanley Cup Final, the Dave Hakstol signing. And then we're going to finish up the podcast with our expansion draft discussion and post-game. All right, so how would you say the season went, Z? Because I think everyone knows how the season went, but...
Poorly. I would start there. I think team defense was a huge problem. Goaltending was a huge problem. Everyone knows that. I think the offense actually was scoring a lot at the beginning of the year, but then, when that dried up, it
took it downhill from
there.
there.
Everything went downhill. It just
I agree
starts
with you
rolling.
I thought the offense was one of the bright spots. You can say people had bad seasons here and there, but everyone has bad seasons. And I think we were pretty consistently scoring a good amount throughout the year. I mean, obviously guys like TK and Hayes maybe could have put a little more into the season, but hey, people have ups and downs during seasons,
Honestly, I think this is a completely different season if it's not shortened and they actually have practice time and aren't playing, whatever it was in March, 20 games in 30 days. That's
actually one of the biggest things, not having practice. We have no idea how that was like. I'm pretty sure AV and all those guys couldn't really be on the ice. It was weird practices the way they were set up.
I mean, and they couldn't really, do any conditioning when they're playing every other night. And exactly, guys have COVID and guys are out. And I don't know. I think AV's system really depends on the conditioning and, getting the forecheck going and all that stuff. And when you don't have practice and your guys are tired, it really puts a damper on the system. Right,
exactly. And then they're not getting as much coaching or the same style of coaching as they normally would. Maybe bad games lead into multiple stretches of bad games because the coach isn't on the ice to be able to physically talk to the player and work out those kinks in their games.
And you just you can't reset because you got a game the next night or
right,
you
exactly.
Get one day off and a game after that. So and then everyone will say, well, every team was dealing with that. But
I mean, that's exactly it, though. Every team was dealing with it, so it kind of sucks that we end up where we did. I tell my friends all the time that I feel like this season was the worst season I've ever witnessed as a Flyers fan. And I mean, I'm sure I say that every time we suck, but this season felt especially depressing. I could barely get through some of these games at times.
And I think that's solely because of the expectations and not just the, fans' expectations of the team, but the national media attention and, multiple high-level pundits picking the Flyers to finish number 1 in this division and be a cup contender. And, they come out and, they were winning games at the beginning, but I think all of us as fans knew they were kind of playing like shit and squeezing it out somehow.
Yeah.
And then,
I try to be,
once their
I try
luck,
to be positive, but it was tough to be positive. Still seeing how bad they were playing, even though they were 8-2. It's hard to stay positive, but I guess when you're 8-2, it's we're still 8-2, so it's all right. We're still grinding out those wins somehow. But obviously, they came back to bite us in the end.
And Coots was gone. Coots got injured, the first period of the second game,
right,
against the Penguins.
He's arguably the most important player on this team. I think he is, other than Carter Hart. Probably the most important player.
Yeah, I agree with that. And we were winning despite Coots being out. And they were all right, so I mean maybe the boys can hold off until he comes back, and then we can start playing the right way and winning. But that didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, Carter Hart's probably the most important player. So Coots was gone. We were still playing well, but then Carter was playing pretty bad. So was Elliott. Didn't really have too good of a year either. But overall goaltending wasn't good. And then defense, I think defense kind of made the goaltending look even worse than it really was, just because as a goalie, I feel you got to overcompensate for bad defensive play in front of you. So that makes some goals scored on you look bad than they worse than they really are.
But it wasn't just the first shots. It was those second and third chances that they were letting up because defense would just scramble.
That's
because
exactly
one guy's
when
out
the
of
D's supposed to
position.
clear that puck, get it to the boards, get it out of the fucking zone. Like,
Yeah.
It's depressing talking about this season, honestly.
Yeah.
It does
Just
suck.
like a lot of
I'm
things
excited
went
for the
wrong.
next one. I think there's a lot of positivity that can come into the next season. A lot of good things could happen this offseason, and hopefully things end up better.
I just want to go back to the point about them missing Coots at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
When he came back, I think they had one game with the entire roster and Coots back, which was against the Caps, and they beat them 7-4 in Washington. And then half the team got COVID. So it's like you get your best player back, you play one game, you dominate a high-ranked team, and then what was it, like 5 guys, including 4 of your best players, get COVID.
Yeah, I think it was like at least what was it, 8? What did you say? Was it 8 total players? I kind of forget how many it was.
I honestly don't remember. I know it was like
at
Braun,
least the top 2 lines. Like top 2 lines worth of players were just not playing, and we were basically a D squad playing against professional NHL teams.
I think it was like Braun, Sanheim, G, TK, Voracek, and maybe someone else.
Yeah, I know G was first. G and Braun were out like the longest. I know Voracek, TK. TK wasn't out as long as the others, but yeah,
and then
it was too many players. That was the changing point. I agree with it. And that was the changing point in the whole season, was getting sick with COVID. So COVID, we can use it as a great excuse for the bad season if we really wanted to.
I think we can blame it a little bit on the NHL too for making them come back. I mean, I think we saw the Canucks at the end of the year where they just took like 3 weeks off when most of their team had COVID. And, and it was kind of funny. They were playing regular season games when the playoffs started, which
I know, that was crazy.
Sucked.
I remember every day going on the NHL app and seeing games. I was like, wait, this team's in the playoffs. I was like, oh, wait, fuck. It says regular season. They're still playing while the first round's going on. It's it was
like
weird.
3 games, the Canucks versus Calgary. But for the Flyers break, they got like a week and a half off. They didn't get any of those players back. They had to play the Rangers, which they lost 3-2 in a shootout. And then they had 2 days off and then played in the outdoor game against Boston, which they made them travel, across the country with half their team having COVID. I don't know if that was smart. And then they just got decimated by Boston and lost 7-3.
Yep. That could have been a fun game if we had our full team, but it's a pretty bad one. Guess the view was good, but yeah, I completely agree with you there. We can blame a mix of the NHL and then a mix of COVID, but then a big mix on the team for how bad we played.
I think it was just everything that could have went wrong
all together, yeah,
all at the same time. And I don't think that happened to other teams, which you can say all the teams were sort of in the same situation, but half of this sport is luck, right? If not more.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of skill involved. There is a slight percentage of luck when it comes to standings and that kind of shit. But I think mostly for the game, it's mostly skill. But yeah, you're right. So why don't we move to top 3s? You down with that? We'll do top 3s from the season so we can stop being depressed, talking about how bad we were, try to look up to the new season. So I don't know. Do you want to start first or me? I think the way we should do it is, we should do one at a time so we can react to it. And then I'm thinking you should do your best moment, one first. What's your top moment from the season? Then we'll go from there.
Okay. You want me to start?
Yeah. And we can't, also, we should do this. We can't double up. So, if you say something, it's automatically off my list.
Okay.
I have to pick something else.
I'm going first, then.
I hope you don't take my number 1, because I only got 4 items on my list. So if one of them's taken, I'm already fucked.
All right. Well, here we go. My number 1 moment from this season is Voracek calling Mike Sealski a fucking weasel.
God fucking damn it, dude. That was literally my first as well.
Has to be. It was
not
the
even
best
a moment on the ice. It was just
a
funny post-game moment.
No, it was the whole situation. He listens carefully to his question, starts to answer his question normally, then realizes, why the fuck am I answering this guy's question? I don't like this guy. And then calls him a fucking weasel. And then TK almost spits up his Gatorade. And it was just all of it together was just pure gold.
That was so funny. Yeah, that was easily the best moment of the season. Just made you smile for just a little bit inside all the the pain that was the 2020-2021 season.
It also made like non-hockey news. That was my favorite part. And
Yeah,
a lot
true.
of reporters were talking about it and saying, most reporters, I mean, agreed with Voracek. Like, if you're going to take jabs at a guy, you got to know it's coming back.
Yeah, seriously. I didn't even know who Mike Sealski was.
Honestly, I didn't either.
Before this. And I looked him up. I was like, oh, he's like this reporter or whatever. I was like, I never heard of you. So he must not be that good at your job.
I mean, I did go back and look, and like most of his articles were like, why Voracek is
pieces.
the problem with the Flyers. Yeah. And it's just like, what? And just
That's
like making
so
up
annoying,
shit
dude.
about like Voracek and AV.
Voracek's like the most consistent player on this fucking team. I get like defensively he's not like the greatest player, but he does do his part. But he's just a consistently good point scorer. Like he always is going to get like 60 to 80 points a season, no matter what.
And
so
I think
I don't see a problem with him. I don't know why Mike hates him so much, but
I think for the room, it's important too that he tells it how it is. Even media, he's saying the same shit to his teammates if he's telling the media how it is. And, he's fucking funny as shit. Yeah. And,
Voracek's
he's not going to bullshit you.
I love it. Yeah. He's straight to the point. That's what I love about that guy. He just says exactly how he feels. And I love that. Like, you should speak your mind. If a guy's a dickhead, call him a fucking dickhead or a weasel, All right, let me see. Let's do my number one pick. It's getting hard now. I'm down to 3. I'm going to have to brainstorm as we go here. I'll go with a good one. I'm going to say G becoming the 3rd all-time in Flyers points. I think that happening during the season was just like in a season full of downs, like that's something that was like, oh, wow, this is fucking awesome. We're watching history here. Like, G's the 3rd most point-getting player in Flyers history and probably going to be 2nd, maybe 1st, I hope. But that'll be a stretch. But, yeah, 3rd all-time's pretty cool moment.
I think it'll be tough to get to where Bobby Clark is at. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I don't think he scores enough goals to get there.
Bobby Clark was like 1,200 or 1,300. Yeah, he's going to have – I mean, I think Drew's going to have to play for like 5 more years to get to that point, like minimum.
And I think we're both on the same page. We want him to finish his career with this team, but also like if it doesn't work out, we want him to go and win a cup somewhere else. But
I might be selfish. I don't think I want you to
leave.
Mean,
I want him to win.
I don't think he's going to leave. Like, he wants to win a cup, but I think he wants to win it in the team that he's spent like a good chunk of his life at. Like,
I mean, he's not going to Ottawa to win.
Well, yeah. I mean, if he wanted to go home, he'd just go be in a rebuild for the next 5 years. Like, I think this is the best place for him to be. He can be a good leader, and he can have a chance to win here as long as we make the right moves. All right. And do you want to do number 2, or do you have?
I want to add a couple more points about Drew.
All right.
Just the fact that he is like the top 3 point getter like in the past like 10 years. Yep. Behind, I think, or it's like Kane, Ovechkin, and G for the 2010s or something like that, 2010 to 2020.
Crosby as well.
I think Crosby was up there, but I didn't know if he was.
I wish I knew right now.
I think he got injured.
Yeah, Drew is up there in all those stats. It's impressive.
Which is insane, actually, when you look at it.
And no one really talks about it, except for
nobody.
Angry Flyers fans when they're trying to make a point.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so I'll go to my number 2. And in a regular season, I don't know if this would be a number 2, but just because of my expectations of this player going into the season, my number 2 moment is the Farabee hat trick against the Islanders. And it's mostly my number 2 because two of those shots were absolute snipes, like top corner snipes on Sorokin.
I do remember that. Yep.
And I think JVR assisted on both of them, and that's when the chemistry between them started to get going.
That's like literally when we realized, like, holy fuck, this guy has a fucking shot. Like, he could be a good scorer.
Yeah, so that was like sort of the first we saw of his shooting ability. I mean, we knew he was a good player, but I think he was like more so his first year trying to play more around the net. But yeah, so that's my number 2 moment. Farabee hat trick, and I think they won in either overtime or a shootout that game. Or did they lose? Yeah, I mean, there were so many fucking games against the Isles, and I hate it all the time.
To be honest with you, I feel like I blocked out so much of this season that I just forget most of it.
Yeah. But yeah, Farabee hat trick. I think we gave up 2 goals to the Islanders in the 3rd period. Farabee was the only player to score besides Hayes, who got the overtime winner. on a power play.
That's a pretty good moment.
So yeah, that's
honestly
my number 2
like the
moment.
fact that I don't remember that and it's not your number 2. That I mean, all these things are just showing how bad of a season it was.
I mean, it was a pretty bad goddamn season.
Yeah. All right, my number 2. It's going to be kind of similar to yours, but it's more of a broad spectrum on things. I kind of was thinking like more broadly on some of this stuff, just because it was so hard to pinpoint certain moments. I'm going to go with the Farabee breakout season. I think in a season with a lot of bad things happening to your team, having a young player just like completely like break out and play like really, really well, it's like a good thing going forward to have a guy like that on your
and
team.
lead the team in goals. And
yeah,
get to 20 goals and get whatever bonus.
What a confidence booster for like a young kid. Like Farabee's like probably a couple years younger than me. Like how much younger than you? Like 4 or 5 years younger than you. Like the kid's like 21 years old or 20 years old and breaking out in the NHL already. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's good to see like a draft pick actually pay off.
Yeah. Hopefully the other one in that deal with Shen pans off too with Frost.
What's that like? Oh, that was the other thing about the Couturier injury. If I want to jump into that real quick, that gave Morgan Frost a moment to play, you know, meaningful minutes as a center on this team, and then he got injured like his first or second game,
and then he got hurt immediately.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's annoying. Honestly, it'll be interesting to see if he's on the roster this year, if he's playing.
I think he's either on the roster or he's on someone else's roster.
Yeah, you might be right there. He could be on the trade block depending on the trade.
All right, so I'll go into my number 3 top moment from the season, and it was the Sam Morin game winner against the Rangers and his
against the Rangers
first goal.
Fuck yes,
and his first goal of his career.
I love that. My roommate's a Rangers fan, so I mean, watching that with him was special just because he's got to yell in his face about how sick Morin was for a second.
Yeah, and just the joy his teammates had for him. Like I think he just got mobbed by like Raph and Lawton and Ghost and Nick Aube-Kubel. And then the post game where he was just so genuine and, you know, talking about how he had a crazy, you know, road to the NHL. He had like what, two torn ACLs. Yeah. They want him to play forward. He's never played forward in his life. Goes back to defense. Is playing third pair minutes with Ghost, and he was actually, you know, I thought a steady, you know, force on the blue line.
Yeah, I agree with you, man.
And just his excitement and just happiness to be there and just be like, he's like, this is the best moment of my life. I scored a goal in the NHL. Like, you got to feel that.
That was kind of a turning point. Like, I thought for a slight second there, like that game and that goal would have kind of boosted our team to like maybe making a run at the last playoff spot, but obviously that didn't work out. But yeah, I mean, hopefully Morin gets to play a little bit next year. He was a good bright spot. If he's re-signed, and I mean, I think ultimately he'd probably be a really good like 7th defenseman, at least right now. That's how I see his role.
I mean, half our decor are really good.
If we don't do anything, yeah, exactly. If we don't do that good, like if Chuck doesn't do anything getting defenseman, then he's probably going to be on the roster next year, playing with like Cam York or something, until Cam York ultimately breaks out and is on like the top 2 pairings. At least that's my hope.
I mean, if you can re-sign him for league minimum just to have on the, which I'm assuming you can, because I don't think anyone else is going to give him a starting job.
I think you can. There might be like an arbitration thing where he has to get paid a certain percentage more than his first deal. But yeah, we'll see.
All right, go ahead with your third moment.
All right, you do your third?
Yep.
All right, cool. This is an easy one. It could easily be the first one. I think any of mine could be the first one. But I'm going to go with Lindblom getting the Masterton Trophy this year. I think it's just a good, heartwarming moment. Like, he probably should have won last year. I think Bobby Ryan won last year, coming back from, I think he was an alcoholic, got over it, and came back and played like really well.
He came back and scored.
So he deserves it too.
He scored a hat trick in his first game back after going to rehab.
I do remember that. That was all over like ESPN and shit.
Cherry Hill native.
Yeah, he deserved it last year, but like Lindblom easily could have gotten it last year as well. I'm just real happy for Lindblom. Like, after everything he went through last year with cancer, and like, you know, it's just like a real special moment for the Flyers and for Oscar. So that's my number 3 pick.
Yeah, you can't argue with that. You can't argue with his story either.
No, not at all.
I had an honorable mention I was going to throw in there was the game against the Islanders when Lindblom scored 2 goals, and one of them was the game winner. It was immediately following an Islanders Islanders tying the game, which like here we go again. Islanders score come back from a 3-goal deficit to tie it with 4 minutes left in the game. Where have I seen this before? And then Lindblom scored right after.
Yeah, that was a good moment. I remember that one. All right, let's move into the Around the League segment. We'll start with the Stanley Cup Final. So we're recording this episode on July 5th. So Tampa Bay is currently leading the Montreal Canadiens 3-0 in the series. Z, what are your thoughts on this series so far?
I think Montreal doesn't have a chance at this point. I mean, they may win game 4 tonight, but I don't see them winning 4 straight against this Tampa team. They're just too deep. Their goalie's too good. They roll 4 lines, and if their first line, if like they set the no against their first line, then their third line goes off, and vice versa. So I really don't know what Montreal can do. They're just outmatched in every way. They have good things going for them going forward. I mean, I just think they're too small and young at this point, probably. Just Tampa's been there so many times. Like, how many times have they been in the, Final Four?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, like the past 5 years, maybe like 4 times or something.
I mean, I think out of all the like quote unquote dynasties we have seen, like Chicago, LA a little bit, in the past 10 to 15 years, the Tampa Bay Lightning are without a doubt the best of all of them. They are so deep. They are paying players $18 million more than any other team is physically doing. I mean, there's literally zero chance that Montreal comes back. And I hope it ends tonight because, to be honest with you, I am ready to be done with this season. I want to start talking more Flyers stuff. I want to talk about the expansion draft more, free agency, all that shit. Like, I want to move on to the 2021-2022 season, like now.
I heard that Tampa's mayor is rooting for Montreal in Game 4 because they want Tampa to win it at home.
I mean, then they'll make more money because...
Yeah, exactly.
And honestly, the worst part about this Stanley Cup to me right now is that, I mean, I get it why there's not that many fans allowed in Montreal or whatever, because they don't have the vaccine pushing around as much as like we did in the United States. But like, it's fucking like annoying at this point. Like, why the fuck is that stadium not packed? When's the last time Montreal went to the Stanley Cup? Like, it's the Stanley Cup. Like, let these fans enjoy their moment, even if they're going to fucking lose tonight and get swept.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I just think they're outmatched, and Ducharme's not doing a good enough job coaching. He hasn't made a lineup change the entire series.
He's playing Gustafsson a lot.
You're playing Gustafsson. Is it the bottom pair is Gustafsson and Merrill? And you wanted Gus on there to help with the power play, and you want Merrill to help with the penalty kill, but what are they doing for you 5-on-5?
They're playing terribly. That's
Absolutely
what they're
nothing.
doing.
I mean, did you see that pizza delivery Gus threw right up the middle on Tyler Johnson's second goal in Game 3?
And he just stood there and like
such a classic Gus
just
play.
tried to poke just a little bit and just was skating backwards, not going towards TJ whatsoever. He was skating away from the puck. It was awful.
I think there was a 2-on-1 earlier in the game where he just defended neither player that was coming in. Like, yeah. He's just so bad in pressure situations. We saw it, for the time that he was on the Flyers. Like, yeah, he'll get a few points on the power play, but is it worth it for like the horrendous defensive turnovers?
It's not.
And they have a guy in a young defenseman in Romanov who's just been on the bench for most of the playoffs, if not the entire playoffs.
Yeah. Some people like think that they're managing their team well, but then you like look back at the moves they've been doing. Like, all right, Flyers fans they do like to talk about Cole Caulfield. I don't, but they sat this dude for multiple games when he's clearly one of their most talented players. Like, they don't know how to manage their team, and they're playing Gustafsson.
There was a 4-on-3.
Like, I don't get it.
They had a 4-on-3 power play in Game 3, and Caulfield wasn't on the ice. What are you doing? Like, he's like only pure goal scorer.
He's probably one of their top 5 players at this point. Like, other than like,
I mean, forwards,
Petrie,
you have to go Suzuki, Toffoli. Deneau doesn't score, but he's like a good forward. Like
Yeah.
I think he had 1 goal in the entire playoffs, and he scored it in Game 3.
Kakaniemi as well. He's pretty
Kakaniemi's
decent.
up there. But like Cole Caulfield has to be the top 4 scorers on their team.
Easily, yeah.
So I think it's just out-coached, outplayed, out-goalied. Like even when I think it was, Game 2 that Montreal was outplaying Tampa the entire game and Vasilevsky kept him in it. He was just making incredible saves.
Yeah. Speaking of Vasilevsky, do you think it's going to be him or Kucherov that ultimately gets the Conn Smythe trophy when it's all said and done?
Tough.
It's really tough. My friend actually put in a hefty bet on Vasilevsky to win the Conn Smythe before the postseason started. I think it was like
I could see either guy getting it. I think
1,200 or something like that at that point. I forget.
I think Vasilevsky, just because he has straight up won them games and series, like closing out series, he's had a shutout for each closeout.
Mm-hmm.
He'll probably get one tonight, knowing him. His save percentage has been ridiculous. He's like a 9.34 or something like that.
But then at the same time,
Kucherov is putting up Gretzky numbers. Though.
Exactly. At
That's
the same
the other
time,
thing.
like the past 2 postseasons, Kucherov has been one of the best players of all time, and he didn't win the Conn Smythe last year. So, like, should he get it this year? It's really, to me right now, it's literally a 50-50 toss-up. I have no idea who's going to win it. But I know it's going to be one of those 2. So if they're both plus money,
winning, yeah.
If they're both plus money right now on whatever betting app that you guys listening have, bet both of them. Figure out a way to hedge that you win no matter what.
Is only if Montreal wins tonight, or else the series is over, and they'll announce the Conn Smythe winner tonight before you hear this podcast. But
oh, you're right. Fuck.
Yeah.
Did not think
but one
about
thing
that.
I did think was funny. Back to Gus. I was listening to Nick Kiprios's podcast, Real Kipper at Noon, and he was talking about that pizza delivery that Gus threw up the middle, and he said that's not even Stanley Cup final level defense. He's like, it's not even NHL preseason defense the way Gus was playing.
Oh my God, that's some pretty bad criticism. Hopefully, Gus
it means
didn't
a lot
hear
coming
that.
from a former NHL player, and I mean he won the cup with the Rangers, but
Yeah,
that's just, I mean, kind of what we were saying. Like he doesn't play defense like NHL defenseman. Like we thought Ghost was bad at defense.
Ghost is like 10 times better than Gus ever was at
It's
defense.
the unforced errors. It's like you have all the time in the world. They're not pressuring you, and you just pass it up the middle to them at your like turnovers at your own blue line. It's just like the worst possible thing you can do.
Yeah,
But
I feel bad for Montreal, but
yeah, I mean, I think
I feel bad for Carey Price.
I don't know
actually.
if they can.
Sorry.
Yeah, I feel bad for Carey Price. Yeah. I don't know if they can make it back to the cup again, because that is hard, and they went on like an incredible run.
They went on an incredible run because they went through the Canadian division, which was easily the worst division out of the 4. That's how they got to the cup.
And they wouldn't have even made the playoffs in a regular season. But, I mean, you can't even say that because the point distribution is all messed up because people are playing different teams in the regular season versus this past season. So, like, you can't even go off that accurately. But they do have a lot to look at for going forward. They got fast, young players, and they have big top 4 defensemen. So, and they have Carey Price. And could you imagine, like, I love when I watch like Weber and Chara and just older big defensemen. They just get away with murder even in the regular season, but especially in the playoffs. They just no penalties called on them. They can cross-check dudes to the face. They can slash them in the back of the legs.
That's
they
playoff
can do whatever
hockey, baby.
they want.
And that's what happens when you become a well-respected player in this league. You get away with certain things. Remember the shit that Chris Pronger did back in the day?
Yeah.
That dude.
A little different back then, the rules.
Yeah, it's obviously changed in the past 10 years. But, yeah, once you're a veteran in this league, I feel like refs tend to let you get away with stuff more than rookies and first-year players.
I mean, go through their, like, just Tampa's depth. Like, Carey Price, amazing, once elite goaltender. But Tampa has Kucherov, Stamkos, Point, Hedman, Sergachev. Can you name 5 players on Montreal that stack up to that?
Nope. You'd need the whole team to stack up to that, and I don't even think that's enough. Those 5, 6 guys.
Stamkos, Point, and Hedman, Sergachev, I mean, there's probably some. I mean, there's definitely some games this postseason where they were pointless because Gord, Goudreau, and Coleman were putting up points, or the fourth line was putting up points. Palat is amazing too.
TJ.
They just Johnson,
who should be a second line player on pretty much most teams in this league. What's he on, the third or fourth line or something like that? I forget what line he's on, but he's on the bottom six.
He's in the bottom six. He was playing the third line, and then they put him at center of the fourth line for that game 3 where he had 2 goals.
Worked out. He got a good matchup. Smart move by John Cooper.
And people were talking about him having to be traded because of his contract and because of
he probably will end up being next year
implications. But at the beginning of the season, but as you alluded to, they did.
Actually, we need to talk about this now.
Okay.
A lot of people. Actually, I don't know. It's probably like a toss up between what people think on out there on social media, that Tampa either has cheated the system, which they most certainly have not cheated in any way, or people say they did what they were allowed to do, like they were just allowed to do it. But at the same time, I'm gonna let you know how I feel first, and you can let me know. They did it legally. I get that. But Kucherov getting hurt that early is it's such a good coincidence for them and the fact that he comes back. When did he come back? Right as the playoffs started? Did he play any regular season games? Do you know?
No, because they would have been over the cap if he played a regular season game.
So they waited until the season ended to bring him back. He was probably healthy enough to play. That part of it all is what irks me, and I don't like.
Yeah, and just to go back for anyone, I mean, most people know about this, but if you're just a casual fan, basically cap space doesn't count in the playoffs, and Kucherov, they put Kucherov on long-term injury reserve at the beginning of the year because he needed surgery for an injury, and he didn't play the entire regular season, and then they brought him back for the playoffs, and because of that, they were over the cap by whatever.
$18 million.
$18 million. So they're playing over the cap, even though that's legal. And people are saying, Tampa cheated or they circumvented the system, but they played within the rules of the NHLPA and the owners agreed on. So
I think the cap is $90 million, something like that, right?
I thought it was lower. I think it's 80 something.
80 something. Well, if it was going off 90, the amount they're over is 20%, just about. So that's a lot over the cap. I don't know. I don't care. I personally don't care. They did it legally, whatever. But it is a topic
I don't think
of
there was
discussion.
I don't think there's some conspiracy where they're like, hey, Cooch, don't play the entire year because he doesn't want to just lose a year of playing.
What probably happened is they found out he needed to get surgery, and they were having this struggle to figure out their cap, and they're like, oh, wow. If we just put him on long-term injury reserve, our problems are solved. We don't have to make many moves or do anything. We'll be within the cap. That's probably how they thought, but
honestly, I don't know if that much went into it, or if it was. I think it was just sort of a happy accident. And call me naive if I.
Whatever.
But it's
cool with me.
I think that's what happened.
Let Tampa win their second Stanley Cup in a row. What else happened around the league? We got Seattle hiring Hakstol, which was kind of an interesting move in my opinion. I think it was a bad move. I just don't think Hack is a good NHL coach. I guess he could be a good assistant, but obviously it didn't work out in Philly. I don't think it's going to work out in Seattle either.
Yeah. Did you happen to catch Dale Weiss on Spit and Chicklets a few months ago?
What was he saying?
He talked about Hack, and he talked about his time in Philly.
Was it bad?
So, yeah, he was basically said that Hack was a hardo, when he was on the bench, and was just emotionless, which I think a lot of us fans saw because, there'd be a horrible penalty called on the Flyers, and he'd just be sitting there with a straight face.
Yeah. He doesn't like to show emotions.
Yeah, he was a hardo. I don't think the players really liked him or respected him towards the end. Obviously,
he's literally a college coach. He coaches college kids with a hard structure, and then he pushes them to the NHL.
Yeah, I don't think
he's an NHL
I don't
coach.
think that type of coaching works in the NHL because one, you're dealing with grown ass men, and you need to have some sort of respect for them. And
seriously.
We sort of see this change now where, teams are going more towards the player's coach and guys like Babcock,
like
Brenda
Moore.
Moore and Gallant. I think the Rangers. It hurts me to say this. I think the Rangers are going to be really good next year.
Oh, dude, yeah. I called Gallant. I was telling my roommate that I was like, Gerard Gallant would be perfect for your team, and of course, I called it. I guess my hockey knowledge is pretty good. They signed him. Yeah, they're going to be good. They're a dangerous team, and I'm not looking forward to having to play them.
But the one thing I do want to mention that Weiss said, because I don't want to shit all over Heck, is that he was like a cool guy off the ice. Like if you were talking to him one-on-one, like not in a meeting, not in front of the team, like he was like a genuinely nice guy. So there's that. But it's also like, why don't you bring that to the bench then?
He just turns on a switch or flips a switch when he starts coaching. That's weird.
Yeah.
I would be the same no matter what. If I'm coaching or if I'm just chilling with you, I'd be the exact same.
Yeah.
I guess that's why they like player coaches, because they're more genuine. But like, I feel like you got to be personable with your fucking players in order to be successful. And I guess he wasn't.
And now,
when they were playing.
Like looking at it, which we're gonna go into soon, is the expansion draft. But I feel so bad for whoever Seattle picks from the Flyers now. Like at first I was like, oh, like Ghost, like he'll get a change of scenery, like he'll be new, like there'll be a lot of fans.
The person, or I feel bad for Seattle.
No. I feel bad if Voracek gets picked. I feel bad for Voracek because he's got to go be on Hack's team again.
Oh, you're right. Fuck that. That's a whole other element of getting
and then the other thing is like, I'm sure Ron Francis is making all the decisions, but when it comes to choosing a player from the Flyers, they're going to ask Hack.
Be like, hey, you coached these guys for, 4 years? Like, who do you think we should take?
Also,
like, please throw us a bone and take JVR Voracek. Please take the salary.
Not even who's good. Who are you going to put out on the ice? Like,
yeah.
Like, because him Hack
and
Ghost didn't have a great relationship. Which, they let Ghost loose his first year, and then after that, they wanted him to play defense, which is, like, not his game.
It's not his fucking game, dude. You watched him last year. He was great last year, and I loved him. Let him play his fucking game.
After going on waivers.
That's the part that pisses me off. Yeah, exactly. He doesn't – coaches, like, try to push things out of players that just aren't there. You got to use them for what they are. It's like the Laine situation. Laine's not a good defenseman. Just let him fucking get 50 goals a year. And not play D. That's just how he is.
Yeah, and when he makes a defensive error that leads to a goal, you can't bench him the rest of the game.
Yeah, you talk to him, be like, dude, you got to you got to teach him some defensive things. Like these are professional athletes. They will pick up like shit defensively and eventually like get decent, but they're not going to be like that two-way player.
But that's Tortorella's system, and he goes by the Hardo system of coaching, which is like the same thing with Hack. Like
Hakstol.
Skilled players
Except
are not.
Tortorella's better at it. Clearly.
Yeah, because he has a cup.
Actually has his teams go to the playoffs consistently and like show a decent effort. All right, where are we? We're rambling off topics about Hack there.
That was on topic.
I guess, yeah. I feel like we were talking about Line A and all that shit a little bit. That's the best part about podcasting, though, when you just start rambling on about random shit. Do we want to do the expansion draft?
Yeah, we can go on to the expansion draft.
Let's start the expansion draft. For you guys listening, we both put our list down before recording, so we got to like take a glimpse, and it actually ended up being exactly the same, which is pretty crazy. But we kind of both think similarly on the Flyers, so it doesn't make it makes somewhat sense that we picked the same players.
I think these are going to be most people's lists, honestly.
Yeah, I feel like I've talked to some people, and they're like. Obviously, there's one player that some people are iffy on, but I think it's a fucking no-brainer to protect this guy.
All right, let's go through.
Do you want to read the list?
I'll go through it. Off the bat, Giroux and Hayes have NMCs, so they have to be protected. So we have G and Hayes.
You probably would
top
anyway.
Of both our lists. So. Yeah, you would anyway. You got to have Coots, got to have TK in there. You re-sign Lawton, so you got to put him in there. And then I think to fill it out, which we both agree on, is Lindblom and Patrick to fill out your forward group. And that's the player you were alluding to was Patrick that some people would leave out. But that makes 0%. That makes 0 sense because he's making $925,000 and we need cap relief. So why would you give them the option to take a flyer on a player who was drafted high but hasn't been playing well, who's making no money? of course they're going to take him.
You don't push away a player that has potential to be as good as Patrick could possibly be for nothing. You don't sell assets at their lowest possible value. That's not how it works. You'd be a bad fucking businessman.
It's not even a sell, though. It's a giveaway.
Yeah, exactly. You're not selling. You're really like, hey, take this like player that could be really good for basically for nothing. For nothing. Here's a second overall pick who could end up being like a really good second line player on your team. Take him, please. Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. And obviously, the players that are exposed forward-wise. Okay, we'll talk about that after.
So for the defense, and we both agree that these are probably the only options, is to go Profi, Sanheim, Myers.
Yeah, there's no, I mean, Braun, but like Braun's so old. These guys are all young. They're your young future defensemen. Obviously, like maybe Sanheim or Myers could get involved in a trade scenario, but like those are the three guys defensively that you want.
And then for goalie, Hart.
Hart, obviously, yeah. No, let's protect Elliott.
He's not on the roster.
He's not going to be playing in the NHL next year.
Oh, don't say that. I loved Elliott, but
I love Elliott too. I just think like it's time for him to retire. He's been making a fuck ton of money.
He just can't play every game in a month.
Yeah, if you play him like 3 games in a row, like you have to be resting him. Like, but that's how it is. Like, goalie's a tough position. So that exposes Voracek, JVR, and Ghost mainly. Having a hard time thinking of who else would be.
Those are the big names.
I guess Knack.
So yeah, Aube, Kubel, and Braun would also be on there, which are like, that's almost worst case scenario. They take Braun or Aube, Kubel.
That would
again, they're making no money.
Braun's a great third line defensive guy.
Braun,
that would kind of suck.
You can make an argument that Braun was our best defenseman this year in a year that the team was horrible defensively. I don't know how much that means, but there were some games where he was obviously the best defenseman on the ice for the Flyers.
Not best skill or everything, but like he was playing as well as he could possibly play.
Yes.
Like in Pro V playing at 75%, it's probably better than Braun at 100%. But like Braun showed, like he put everything on the table this year.
Braun was playing on a line with Pro V and carrying him in some games.
Correct, but he was perfect. Yeah, he played well. So I think, and you agree as well, the strategy for this protection list would be to expose a lot of salary cap. And for me, if I have to pick which of these 3, Voracek, JVR, or Ghost, that I would pick for Seattle to draft, I'm leaning JVR just because he's the kind of player like this year that played really well that I could see next year just going right back to nothing. And he makes $7 million a year. So you're getting rid of one of the 2 biggest contracts on your team. Voracek makes 1.25 or something like that more than him. Mm-hmm. But I think you're going to squeeze more out of Voracek in the final 4 years of his contract that he has left than JVR. Ghost only makes $4 million something. So I'd rather get rid of one of the 2 highest salary cap players on our team.
Yeah, Ghost at 4.5 for 2 more years.
Yeah.
This is sort of where we disagree. So, and hear me out on this one.
Okay. Let's hear it.
I would give Seattle picks to take Voracek.
Interesting.
Because
I would give picks for them to take JVR, not Voracek. But I get
JVR, in my opinion, has more trade value.
So
if you're gonna go, then Voracek.
That's interesting. I think Voracek has more trade value. I think he's a consistent player. Like JVR could go and he did good this year, but like say 82 game season, I could see JVR getting like only 40 points next year. When I know Voracek's going to at least hit like 50, 55, 60.
But JVR is just, and doesn't matter how you feel about him. He's known around the league as the goal scorer, front of the net guy which
so you still want to keep that Simmons type player on the team is what you're saying.
I would trade him.
So you want to trade him and have them take. All right. So I guess what's that now? 13 million of cap space available to do whatever we want with.
15.
7
and
8. You're right. Bad math. I'm a fucking accountant. I can't even count.
And that leaves a space to get 1 or 2, which I think we need 2 D-men and some forwards.
Yeah.
I think that's more than enough space.
I don't completely disagree with you. But I'd rather than take JVR, but like either way, like I'd probably still be happy.
And don't get me wrong. I love JVR and I love Jake. I wouldn't be upset.
Yeah, this is nothing against them at all. I love both the players, like both as people and players. Like they're both like great, but it's just business at this point, I think.
I mean, just thinking about the team's needs and the fact that they need money to get the things that they need, and these guys make a lot of money, and they're the only guys that make a lot of money that we can trade. So it's just like,
unless you want to trade Giroux, which I am completely against. Some people might say differently.
Well, does he have a full no move, or he has
a no move? But like you could talk to him, and be like, hey, would you like to get traded to
I don't think he
Colorado?
Wants to get
like that we could trade you to a really good team. But yeah, I don't think he wants to get traded. And I'm just saying it because it's an option. I don't want it either. So
if we trade G or Jake, we're retaining salary, 100%.
But G's got 1 year left. You don't have to retain salary.
Okay, no,
there.
G. Yeah, actually, G has 1 year left. Sorry,
Jake's
if
4
we're
years.
Jake,
JVR is salary. 2. That's why I think they'd take JVR. Because I think he has 2 less years.
I mean, I 100% think they would take JVR. I think you pay them to take Jake, though.
How much? What are we talking here? 2nd round pick, 1st round pick?
Give him a first. I don't care, dude. You can give him all the 1st round picks.
I think
in the
that's
world.
too much.
I don't care anymore.
I don't think it's too much
to
take a good player. I think they're going to take one of them anyway. I would not give up a first to make him take Jake.
We disagree on that. So tell us what you think, guys. Tweet at us.
Yeah.
Tie My Skates Pod.
We'll put this list up, and we'll have you guys bitch at us or agree with us. You know, we'll find out. Anything else you want to talk about? I think we hit the expansion draft right on the head.
Do we want to go into what this team needs at all going into this? You know, we have the draft coming up, and then the
I'm down with that.
Off season, or do we want to talk about this? We'll go in more detail definitely in another episode, but just off the bat, maybe not specific players, but team needs.
Yeah, I'm down with that. We're gonna call this segment post game. I thought it was a cool idea to have a segment at the very end of podcast just to kind of just like shoot the shit, talk about shit that we didn't cover during the podcast, like what the team needs. So, and in other episodes, we'll field questions from you guys. So if you guys have any specific things you want us to talk about, like you just leave us a comment below our tweets or on Instagram, and we'll most definitely answer them. So what did you want to talk about for the team needs? Obviously, D.
And that's like the glaring obvious thing. And like defensive, like big D-men. I want big looking at Montreal.
First line defenseman. That is the biggest need. If you do that, the dominoes fall from there.
Yeah. And then I think we need a second line guy too.
Second line forward?
Second line D guy, sorry.
I mean, yeah, if we want to win a cup next year, we need both of those. But I don't know if Chuck's going to make all the moves. I think he's going to still rely on players developing more than win now mood, sadly.
And then, I mean, watching this team and then watching other teams in comparison, we are slow. We are very slow. We don't have one guy who can turn on the Jets.
One guy I have in mind. I'm not sure what his salary is looking like, years left, whatever. But Miles Wood, I wanted him at the trades deadline. This dude is so quick, and he's a very good penalty killer. And I just think he's the perfect role player that we could get for next to nothing, and he could make an impact on this team. Like, obviously, we want like a Seth Jones, but like a guy that would cost very little. They could make a very big impact. Definitely a guy like that.
Fill the bottom six with speed.
Exactly like
fill the bottom six with speed, dude. Get a guy. I mean, if the players,
he's going to be bottom six. Nolan Patrick's kind of slow too, which sucks. I love him.
Patrick's slow.
Yeah, he's slow.
I think to get the most out of Lindblom, you got to put him on a top line, but I don't know if there's room for him.
Yeah, that's the problem. He was really good before he got sick.
I mean, TK can sometimes turn it up, but he's not fast. And I mean, 2 years ago when he was in the All-Star game, he was in the fastest skater. And I think
he's quick, but he falls. Yeah. Like he has got falling problems sometimes too. He's kind of like
falling problems. That's Travis Sanheim.
Oh yeah,
he falls down more times than Scott Hartnell.
I was gonna say that we should start a Sanheim down. Like he'll donate $1. What did Hartsey do? It was like $100 every time he fell. He donated. Sanheim should start that just to laugh at himself at this point.
The fans just started because they were just holding out or raising signs that had the number of times he fell, and he had no idea.
Really?
Scotty Hartnell. Yeah, he's told that story before where like he asked the trainer and like the trainer went and talked to them and they were like, yeah, they have it for every time you fall down on the ice. They had a number.
I hope you laughed at that. That's something you can easily just laugh off. Like, we'd be a lot worse. You and me would be a lot worse out there if we were on the ice. Probably get my fucking head rocked.
Yeah, so Miles Wood is a good name out there. I like the way he plays. Obviously, hate him because he plays for the Devils and he puts up points against us.
All the girls will love him too. He's very good looking,
and it will fight too. Like, he's gritty and fast. And I feel like Pitlick was fast, but we lost him.
Yep.
I don't think it made sense to re-sign him.
People don't talk about that much. Kind of a decent loss. He was good at PK as well.
He was good on the PK. Yeah, I mean, and he scored goals in the playoffs. Maybe one, but.
I think one in the round robin.
Islanders.
The round robin, maybe.
He did, and he also scored in the Islanders game.
Gotcha.
In the Islanders series, sorry. But yeah, we definitely need speed. And then, I mean, we talked about the offense being good to start the year, then it sort of fell off.
I wouldn't mind
with the rest of the team. I wouldn't mind getting
a change up, like getting rid of one of our good players for another one in return. I know Eichel's been like talked about. It's definitely not going to happen.
You have to give up too much.
Yeah, it's definitely not going to happen. But like,
I think
I'd
the
be very
trade partner
intrigued for a decent like minor trade where it's like a player for a player, like we flop. But I don't know who would get traded.
The trade partner that makes the most sense out there is Calgary, just because they are like the Flyers of the West.
Oh man! Say his name.
And it's like bring. Oh yeah, well I thought you were gonna say bring Johnny home.
I mean, I would love to bring Johnny home as well, I mean, but I would rather have Matthew Tkachuk.
I think the issue with bringing Johnny, and you just mentioned this, is we have too many players that play like the same style or that are the same type of player.
Exactly.
Hayes is a pass-first guy. Voracek's a pass-first guy. G's a pass-first guy. And Johnny's a pass-first guy. So what are you going to do? Put them all on the ice and they're going to pass to each other the entire time?
Right. Exactly.
So I think we need a scorer. And when I say a scorer, I don't mean let's get a sniper, because like Alex Ovechkin's the only like good sniper out there, because he's good in other
obviously, but he comes
Line
with
his sniper, but I don't want to. I want a scorer that can play deep. So when I say scorer, a guy who can finish, dude, just beat a goalie with a shot and shoots first. I would love. He would fit.
Do you think that would work when you're saying the like JVR and a first or something? I think you could finesse that Voracek to get taken in the expansion for like a second, and then trade JVR a first and like Frost for Tkachuk, and that might be overpaying.
I think you have to overpay.
But like JVR has 2 years left. Like I get he makes too much money, but 2 years left is nothing when it comes to salary cap. Like they'll be out of that in no time. And if they want to get some prospects and a first, like there you go. That's your opportunity.
Tkachuk gives you scoring. He gives you
grit,
fighting, and he pisses people off.
What would you call him? A power forward? I think he's a scoring power forward.
He's a scoring power forward.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's exactly what we need.
That is what we need. And like I said, I feel like because of Jake's age and the term and his deal, I think you get more back for JVR, or JVR is a more interesting name because, one, he brings goals. He's going to get 20 younger.
No matter what.
Yeah, he's younger, and he makes a little bit less money. And I think JVR's salary is like spot on for what you get from him.
That's true. He goes on streaks too, but like that's what all.
And dude, if you can get Seattle to take Jake for a second, go ahead. You know what I mean? I was just saying I would give them a first to do it.
Yeah. Well, to me, Seattle's got to hit the minimum salary cap. Like, there's not that many players as good as Jake Voracek out there that they're just going to be able to snag on other teams. So, like, he'd be a good player for their top two lines, and he would help with the salary cap. You got to, what's it, like $58 million or something like that you got to hit. You got to hit it somehow.
I'm not sure what the floor is.
You got to hit somehow. But, yeah, I'm cool with that scenario if it pans out like that. That's, like, wishful thinking, though.
I would love Tkachuk. I would, Gaudreau, it's been long said that when he hits free agency, he wants to go to the Flyers because he lives in South Jersey and grew up here, and he's a Flyers fan. So I don't know if I would trade for him, because if you think you can get him anyway when he's a free agent,
then do it then. Like,
yeah, then just get him and not lose any assets.
I just looked up Johnny Hockey on Cap Friendly. He's making $6.75 this year, and he's going to be a UFA after this year ends. So what's the fucking point in trading for this guy when you can get him for free?
It makes no sense to trade for him.
He's not going to demand that much money. Like, we might be able to get him for like $6 if he wants to come home.
If he wants to come home, which it's been long said he does. And to add to that, you can put him on a line with Hayes, which they played together in Boston College, and they were pretty fucking good.
Those two, and people aren't going to agree with this for sure. And Nolan Patrick on the right wing. I think Nolan.
No.
No, you don't like that.
No, because that team needs a shoot first guy.
Nolan Patrick can become that.
No, Nolan Patrick is a pass it behind the back to nobody guy.
Shut the fuck up.
The amount of times I saw him do a blind between the legs pass to nobody behind him, like
Fine. Valid criticism.
5 or 6 times this
Valid
season, which is
criticism.
too many times.
I'm gonna give him a break. He had a tough year. Give him a fucking break. He played the whole season.
I give him a break. Just why pass it without looking when you can look and pass it to somebody?
Very true. I guess maybe to you that's not a good line, but I think it could. I guess you want Nolan Patrick to be a center.
And is that your third line? That's another team need is a 2 or 3C whichever one you get, put Hayes in the other role.
Yeah.
If you get a 2C, put Hayes on third, even though he's making too much money to be a third line center.
On a Stanley Cup team, Hayes would be a third line center.
Yeah.
I don't care about the money. Like that's why. If we got Eichel, it would be pretty insane what our lineup would look like. But that's reaching.
You could say Hayes didn't look good this year, which, I mean, points wise, I think he was comparable to his first season. On the PK and like speed wise, I don't think he looked great, but it was very quietly, but it came out that he was playing with a core muscle injury.
Yeah.
So
he'll be fine next year. He did look slow at times, and I think that's exactly what the problem was. Like
same injury G and Ghost had where they looked horrible.
Was that when G got 50-something points and people were like,
and then
get him
like
out
the
of
next,
town, blah, blah,
and
blah.
then the next year he got 102 or whatever.
Yeah, then he was like next year like, hey, I can still fucking play. All right.
So, I mean, another guy from Calgary, Monahan, just to throw that out there because I think they're done with him and he can play center.
Yeah, that's not bad.
And score.
Yeah, throw a dart on him. I don't think he's that great, but I think he definitely could fit a bottom 6 role decently well.
All right, that wraps up the first episode of Tie My Skates. Please like, comment, and subscribe on Twitter, Instagram, and anywhere you get your podcasts at Tie My Skates Pod. I'm Z. He's Drunk Eddie. See you guys next time.